Hello, family, and welcome back to the Amplify You podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. Ms. Val Low is joining us. Val Low is a creator of the Focus and Freedom program, or method, I apologize, and an organizing superpower. It's great to have Val on the show. We've been working with Val and getting her podcast up and launched. We're going to learn some expert tips from Val today. Welcome, Val.
Great. Thank you for inviting me. It's a real pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, so great to have you on here, Val. Val and I go back a little bit further than Brain and I working with her. Val helped me originally set up the process we use now for getting a podcast launch, which is really cool. So Val and I were on Zoom one day and we had sticky notes everywhere, and she was helping me come up with the exact way, step A to Z, on how you launch a podcast. So we figured out it was 48 steps, and we've simplified it a little bit since then, so you're welcome. But it was such a great experience working with her and learning how to create systems, because I'm a visionary entrepreneur and my ideas are out here, and having someone bring it down to here is a really great experience for me, because it's not how my brain works. So Val, we are super excited to be working with you again now to launch your podcast out into the world. And so tell us a little bit about the Focus and Freedom Method. What does it mean to you?
Oh gosh, it's taken a long time to get me to that actual place of focus and freedom, but it really was looking at entrepreneurs around me and seeing, like you mentioned, being a visionary and doing all those things and running all over the place. And I could see that, if they just tweaked a little, if they just put a little structure in, if they just did this, then it would help them so much, and they could do these great things on a bigger scale. So that's where the Focus and Freedom Method came from. It took a long time in the process, and it really as well started with my own planner that I've created to keep me on track, and now my clients as well. And so it takes you right from the beginning of your great big goal from the year all the way through down to the daily little bits that you can do to actually accomplish that goal. So it started a long while ago, but it's really was all about how can I help these entrepreneurs? Because I know it's so much better when you're a little more organized, a little more structured.
Totally. I can totally relate to that. And I love your journal. I have used it, and I found that one of the things that you taught me, which I really appreciate, was that the freedom, the actual real freedom that I've always been seeking and finally have kind of found is really in the structure and getting more organized and getting more structure. And thank goodness for having you and Braden in my life, because now we're finally in the place where we're feeling a little bit more structured and organized, and not fly by the seat of my pants kind of way of doing things. So now I said this, I swear I said this a couple weeks ago, I don't feel like I really worked this week. I'm like, why was that? Oh, that's because we had these systems and the structure in place so that we were only doing certain things at certain times, and I did have more time off. Like, holy smokes, this felt like I was on vacation. So yes, it's amazing, that freedom that comes from the focus and the structure.
It reminds me of a quote I was once told, and I didn't believe it at first, but I now absolutely see the truth, is that there's freedom in discipline. So once we discipline ourselves to the routine or to the structure, then we can actually feel that freedom. That's fantastic. What is your goal with the Focus and Freedom Method, Val?
The goal of Focus and Freedom is really, you know what? My passion is freedom for entrepreneurs. So that's what it really is that. Yeah. And helping them so they can impact the world, because there's so many geniuses as you are helping to do podcasts. There's so many out there, and just to take them to that place of the freedom and the impact that as entrepreneurs, I think that's what we all long for, is that.
Yeah, Val, it's funny because I know you as the super organized, international speaker and organization. You have got programs and material all about organization. What was it in your life that made you actually get started on this journey of organization?
Gosh.
I want to know.
Oh, gosh. Well, we moved into a smaller home and had 2 boys. And I just thought, there's got to be a better way to keep things organized and together and for this family. And that's when I started finding out that, you know what, there were people that were actually earning a living by being an organizer. It just was one of those almost a dynamite blow your mind kind of experience. And then I found out that I'm really good at organizing, especially for entrepreneurs in their offices, and they, want to help them. They're kind of head down and stuff's everywhere. And I go in, I go, hey, look at this. We could do this and we'll move that. And pretty soon you're going to have some clarity and structure, and you're just going to be able to manage so much better. So it went from there. And I just have to refer you to a book that I found at that time. And it was the two sisters that were so disorganized. They call themselves the Slob Sisters. And some of the things they did was, they said, if your husband's out of underwear, you can rinse them in the sink and put them in the microwave and dry them there. But make sure you don't dry them too long or they'll shrink up to nothing.
Wow.
So that's how I started on my journey. And then it's just evolved from there. I was really good at helping entrepreneurs get organized, but then I found out that how do I keep them organized? So I went into some business coaching training and just, learning more about mindset and everything there. So here we are, Focus and Freedom.
That's so cool. I really love, we've been having some fun, and I'm going to give them some behind the scenes of your podcast as we were trying to, come up with some word playing on your podcast. It's interesting right now. There's this big movement on organization thanks to the Marie Kondo method and sparking joy. And I love how we want to refer to you as kind of like the business organizer that's going to build business bliss in your business, and you're happy because you have a clear desk and a clean mind, or a clean mind and a clear desk, whichever way you want to do it, then you can be more focused and have more success because you're not focused on the anxiety that's being caused by all the clutter around you.
Exactly.
So yes. I totally love that. Val, I'd love to know, what are some of the tips and tricks that you have based on these methods and these systems that you've come up with and created in your own business and your own life? What can we help our podcasters with in them starting to find out how they need to roll with their podcast once it's launched?
Yeah. I always start with, what's your plan? I mean, you really have to find out and know where you're going, because like they say, if you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up where you don't want to go. So that's the big piece that I would suggest, is just creating a plan. What's it look like? And with a podcast, how's that going to fit into your business? How's that going to work? What's it going to do for you? For me, it's interviewing all kinds of great entrepreneurs, the things they're doing, but also I can take the information that I have and I can use that in all kinds of different social media ways. So what's your plan? How's it fit in with your business? Now, we talked a little bit about mindset, and you just have to get, obviously the plan is clarity, but you have to get clear in your mind, again, where you're going. And as I'm studying mindset and how I can improve myself, I've come across some really interesting changes in my brain because I'm focusing on what I want and not what I don't want. And it's surprising. There's so much less mind clutter. It's quiet up here most of the time. And that's really nice. And when that happens, then you can have all those ideas can easily flow and into your mind, so that you can take those ideas and use them in a really strategic way. Now, the other piece that I would suggest for your podcast entrepreneurs, and don't get too shivery on me here, because this word sometimes makes us go, whoa, as entrepreneurs, but the word is structure. When you put the structure in your business, the processes, the systems, then you can start to be actually having more freedom in your business, and you can fit those things in that make a difference. So, and I know that Michelle and Braden, you both have checklists and worksheets and all of those pieces that go along when it comes to a podcast. So you're making it step by step for your podcasters, which is really a great place to be. So putting that structure in and following that as best you can. I mean, as entrepreneurs, we like to be flexible. So maybe your structure is, I need to do this particular project. It's going to take me an hour or 2 hours today. Here's what I fit it in, rather than looking at your calendar and going, okay, 9 to 10, I do this, and 10 to 11, I do this, because we don't work very well that way normally. So if you could take that chunk of time and say, today, this is what I need to do. Here's where I'm going to do it. And the other piece that I think is a really good thing to think about when it comes to podcasting and your business in general is having a team working for you. Obviously, Michelle and Braden are doing a big piece of that. And they do offer ongoing support with VAs that would do the work for you. All you need to do is the recording, get the guests and do the recording. But even in your business itself, I mean, I have a couple of VAs that work for me, and one is new into the VA business, so she's just getting going. But the other one, oh man, she's a superstar. And I just love the VA that I have working for me. So having a team that supports you as well is something that's going to serve you. So that's a few of my tips. I'll try not to go on too much longer because there's more, but I don't want to confuse the listeners. You need to keep it simple, and you need to have fun with this. It's a big thing too.
Absolutely love that. Starting with what's your plan, so at least you know what your target is. If you know where you're aiming, you're going in the right direction. And
exactly.
Then what an absolute beautiful sentiment, as you were saying, once you incorporated some structure, you found that your mind was less cluttered and you felt that freedom internally, not just in your external world.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. One other thing that you touched on that I think is a big piece that Michelle and I work with is the repurposing of your content. You're utilizing and leveraging your own time in content creation. We look at podcasting as a content creation hub where we're then able to repurpose that content for all kinds of social media channels. And I think, like you said, with that structure in place, it frees up a lot of your time as well.
It does.
Yeah. One of the other things that you mentioned, Val, was about team. I'd love to know what your process has been for onboarding a team member into your business.
Onboarding a team member. Yeah. I'm hesitating because the teams that I've had are they just arrived. They arrived.
The reason for the question is that, I think as an entrepreneur, I'm going to speak for myself. As an entrepreneur, and when I'm bringing on a team member, I think that it's going to create a lot more work for me at the beginning to kind of, teach them my processes and systems. Then, and sometimes it's hard to envision that it will actually take less time in the long run having team members because they can do all sorts of things for you, right? So yeah, I just wanted to hear what you thought about that. That's why I was asking that.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
She's asking about me, Val. How can I help her without her having to babysit me?
And that's what we tend to do too, because we want to keep control of everything, right? But when it comes to working with a VA and the systems you have, you need to take a little bit more time just to work through what that system is. And then you can even go online like we're doing here and just say, hey, this is the way I do it. This is where I'd like to do it. You can do some screenshots. You can do a little video and send it to VAs to show them exactly what it is you do. Taking that little time is going to alleviate you from all of those other pieces that, that just keep us not in our unique zone. And one of the things I love about my VA is that, again, in the beginning, I was keeping control, a lot of control. She is so fantastic. She can write copy for me. She can do graphics. What she actually does is puts together all of my online courses. So she puts the videos in and the photos and everything that needs to be done, all the checkout pages, all those things. And she's fantastic at it. And so just knowing that she does that is just such a big help. The other thing is that when I said that these VAs just kind of arrived, I have a friend that teaches VAs how to do a VA business. She's really good at that. She has lots of VAs she's trained. And I know that anyone that's been trained by her has great skills, great principles. And so I don't hesitate to say, hey, have you got someone that could do this for me? So it's a good place to go to, rather than, people will say, well, just go on Fiverr or wherever and find someone. Well, it's not as easy. And there's certain ways that you can, look at how you're going to bring a new VA on board, and word of mouth too is good as well. So that's what I think.
That's awesome. I love it.
Communication and relationships is a big piece of that, right? And you don't know what you're going to get until you have that relationship built. So that's great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had some Fiverr people disappear on me, mid project, and there was an avalanche in there, or there was some sort of natural disaster in their country, and they never came back, or something,
exactly.
or family emergency or something. You never know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Those avalanches getting in the way of business. My goodness.
Yeah, lots of things. Snow days, avalanches.
Right.
And the other thing too is that I try to treat my VAs well, because they're doing a good job. I want them to know that. And sometimes I go, oh, do I really say this? I don't want them to take it the wrong way, but I'll say, I really appreciate you. And that goes a long way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So right. Appreciation goes a long way. And I think I just was thinking about something as you were saying that. Well, when would it be recommended that, like, we as an entrepreneur, we come and see somebody like you to help us with our systems and processes before we bring on a team member, so then we can train the team member on the process that we've already created?
Yeah, it would be helpful. Yes. Yeah. Whether you had myself come on board or someone else, or you actually take the time to put, just go through that whole process. It's a really helpful, because then you can hand it off to someone and say, this is what I like it, the way I'd like it to be done, and in this order. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I mean, what Brayden and I do for people with their podcast is a little bit different, because we've created the system that then they're going to plug into.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you're hiring somebody else, that's like maybe a virtual assistant, or somebody who's doing something, I think you need to be the one that comes up with the system, not expecting them to have the system. I think is probably a key thing that we should probably remember. We should be knowing our system and not expecting them to create it for us.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. You need to be delegating, not, what's the right word? Not letting go of everything and just expecting it to be done the way you want it to be done.
Right. I see people getting into trouble with this with social media, because maybe, as an expert, we might not actually know the strategies for the social media. So we would expect a VA to kind of know, but I think that's a bit of a tricky one. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. I mentioned I have a VA that's new to the VA world, and I was expecting something. She's got a great background. She knows so many different things in business and life. And I was expecting a little bit more, but when she had the step-by-step, she just bloomed, because she knew what it was, how to go about it. Because I mean, sometimes as a VA, you don't really know something, a particular aspect of what you're handling. So being able to know what exactly that is really helpful as well.
Totally. I love your idea with the meeting. Sorry.
Just going to say, again, it's back to the structured process, right? Once you have that figured out, people can thrive. It's amazing how you feel like it's confining, but really it allows people to go be as good as they can. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and having those videos that you were mentioning too, I think that's probably really helpful as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
that's
really
awesome.
helpful. And the thing with that too is that when you're doing a video like that, it has a step-by-step, you can actually take the next step and put it into your standard of procedures, or your policies or procedures, or whatever that happens to be. I was mentioning to one of my clients just today that I have a book. It's like a manual. It's not a big manual that gets filled up with all my standards of procedures and gets pushed on the shelf. It's an actual working manual, and I call it How We Do It Here. So you put in there, you can put in step by step, or you can, if you have it online, like say Google Docs, you could put that video there as well. And then when the system changes, say you hand it over to a VA, and then they use that system. When it changes, then they can do the video and replace it with their video with the updated version.
It's brilliant. Did you get that tip, Michelle? I think we should start something.
My mind's going. Light bulb. Well, thank you, Val, for coming on with us today. It's been so awesome to, help you to learn more about what your goals are, and to also kind of, I want to say, introduce you to our podcasters out there that could probably really use your help as entrepreneurs, and getting them the structure that they need so that they can find the focus and freedom that they're craving.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been so awesome working with you on our podcast. And, I would like to continue working with you for other systems and processes we have in our business as we grow. I think that's so valuable to have someone on your team that can see those systems and processes, especially when I can't. Luckily, Braden can see them. But Val, before we let you go, obviously we want to share you with our audience. So where can we find out more information about what you do, your programs, your services, and all that kind of good stuff?
Well, obviously there's going to be the podcast called Focus and Freedom, and you can listen in there. And my website is vallow.me. You can check out the website there as well. And I also have an organizing site. So if you really want to get organized, it's at pathclear.com. So it's PATH clear.com. So I've got those two options. Check that out, and you can connect with me through there.
Beautiful. And we'll put all that into the show notes for everybody. Before we let you go, Val, Michelle and I are curious as to what your experience has been like working with us.
Oh, gosh. That's
an on-the-spot question.
Well, I was mentioning that sometimes with my VA, I say, can I really do this? And I'll say, I really love you in a nice way. And that's what I see with you guys. I really love working with you. It's such a great experience. You've got the expertise. You know how to put things together, and you're fun as well. And so that's what it's all about for me. So thank you.
Thank you, Val. We love you too.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being with us, Val. It's been a pleasure having you on here, and I hope our audience gets all these great tips that you've laid out. We are going to put links to everything in our show notes so that they can follow up and see more.
Thank you.
And then we're going to bring you back on in a few months to see where your podcast is taking you and your adventures.
Yes.
And we can find out some more tips and tricks from you then too.
Definitely.
So until then, thanks, Val.
Thank you.
Thank you.